Welcome to footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and welcome to our 2017 NFL season preview for the Washington Redskins. Now here's a look at what we have on tap for this preview. We will take a look at both sides of the ball in our offensive and defensive overview. We will also give you a reason for optimism as well as a cause for concern. And we will give you a breakout candidate who is an underrated player that'll end up playing a huge role this season. But first, let's take a look at some of the big storylines heading into the season as we get things kicked off in our 4-minute offense. The ongoing contract saga between Kirk Cousins and the Washington Redskins carries over into the 2017 season. Cousins will once again play under the franchise tag after the two sides failed to strike a long-term deal in the offseason. This is interesting because neither side seems to want to commit long-term with one another, but they can't let each other go. I guess as long as it doesn't affect the overall team, they can continue to play this ball game. But we do know at the end of the season, decisions will have to be made regarding this situation. The Redskins remodeled or revamped their receiving core, depending on how you want to look at it. Gone is Pierre Garçon, and in comes Terrell Pryor. Now, Pryor turned down a contract to remain with the Cleveland Browns in order to take a one-year deal in Washington. He'll team up with Jamison Crowder and promising second-year wide receiver Josh Doctson to give the Redskins some big playability on the perimeter. Now, we shall see if Pryor can continue to grow his game as he's in his second full season of making the transition from wide receiver to quarterback. One of the areas of improvement the Redskins wanted to address this offseason was on the defensive side of the ball. Washington's first 4 draft selections were on that side of the ball. The biggest one was their first pick, Jonathan Allen out of Alabama. He was one of the top defensive players in the draft and was picked at a position and an area of need for the Washington Redskins. If these young guys can step in and contribute right away, then this defense will be vastly improved over last season. Head coach Jay Gruden seems as if he's been in Washington for a decade, but it's only his 4th season. He's directed the Redskins to the division title and a playoff berth, but part of me feels as though he still needs to show more this season in order to make it to year 5. I do think he does a lot of things very well, and if he can get this team to play up to its potential this season, they can make the playoffs. If he can't, the Skins may be on the lookout for a new coach in 2018. Right now, everyone's record is at 0-0, and every fan is excited about the 2017 season, and every coach feels as though that this year's team has a right mix of everything to push them over the top. Well, here's why you should be optimistic about the 2017 season. When you look at the potential of this Redskins offense, especially on the perimeter, you can't help but be optimistic about the 2017 season. Their passing game has shown itself to be both efficient and dynamic, and you also add in the fact that their offensive line is one of the best in the NFC, and if Jordan Reed can stay healthy, they can really pile up the yardage and the points. I'm also a big fan of their front 7 on defense. This is an impressive group of players with Ryan Kerrigan, Preston Smith, rookies Jonathan Allen and Ryan Anderson, as well as linebacker Zach Brown. There's a lot of speed and athleticism within the front 7, and the optimistic part of me expects it to pay big dividends for the Redskins this season. A cause for concern would be if their running game doesn't become a part of the offensive equation this year. They've shown that they can run the ball in spurts, and in certain games they've been able to run their way to success, but it has to become much more consistent. If the Redskins are one-dimensional on offense, they'll be playing losing football. Another concern would be if the cornerback play doesn't improve. Last year, they had issues in defending the pass and gave up over 258 yards passing per game. It's not like they didn't get help from the pass rush, as they finished with 38 sacks, which was tied for 9th in the NFL. Guys just have to simply do a better job at playing the ball and communicating with one another on the back end. Every year there's a player on the team that enters the season on the bubble. Maybe he's buried on the depth chart or he's an afterthought, but they end up playing a big role on the team by the season's end. So without further ado, here's my pick for the offensive and defensive breakout candidate. I look at rookie running back Samaje Perine as a breakout candidate. Perine's game is consistent and steady. He reminds me a lot of former Philadelphia Eagles running back and current running backs coach Deuce Staley, or more recently, former Atlanta Falcons back Michael Turner. Perine left Oklahoma as the all-time leading rusher in that storied program's history, and that speaks volumes of his ability to tote the rock. Defensively, Anthony Lanier is primed for a breakout season. He was an underrated prospect coming out of Alabama A&M and has been steadily making progress with each and every opportunity that he's gotten to be on the field. The 6'6", 282-pound defensive lineman does a really good job on both ends of defense. All right, it's prediction time. So here's how I think the 2017 season will play out. The road to the Super Bowl for the Washington Redskins goes as follows. Number one, they have to get a lot better at stopping the run. Last year, the Skins gave up nearly 120 yards a game on the ground. That's not playing winning football. That also keeps you on the field longer than you want to. So in order to be better on third downs, they have to do a better job on first downs and stopping the run. And Kirk Cousins has to get better situationally. Third down offense, backed up offense, 4-minute offense, red zone offense versus pressure. If he can get better situationally, this offense will get out of its own way and push this thing forward. And third, all of the new pieces that the Redskins added via free agency or in the NFL draft have to gel quickly and be ready to go from week one. This is a team that went 8-7-1 last year, 9-7 the year prior. So this is not a bad football team. They've added some new pieces, hopefully to make them better on both sides of the ball. If they can gel quickly, this team can find themselves getting into the playoffs and making a deep run. And I have the Redskins finishing 4th in the NFC East. I do think this team will be talented. I think they'll hover around that 8 or 9 win mark, but this division is so tough top to bottom. I think that'll keep them out of the playoffs despite having a 500 record or a winning season. So that's a wrap for this video. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts as you see listed. And if you want to check out our NFL season previews, as you already should, visit our website at footballgameplan.com/2017 NFL previews. And then finally, don't forget to subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast, where you can find all of our NFL shows like the Football Cypher, where we go into more detail with the 2017 Washington Redskins with our Football Game Plan analyst. So you can find that podcast and our others on iTunes and also on our website at footballgameplan.com/podcast and on our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/FBGP podcast.